Hello guys, today I'm gonna show you how to paint these nice light purple sneakers and these blossoms, flowers, which called lilac. So before we start, I want to share with you reference that you can see on the screen. You can make a screenshot and it will help you to make a sketch before we will paint with watercolor. I actually don't show you how to make a sketch, but if it's needed, please share it in the comment below this video. So before we start painting with watercolor, actually it's always better to mix your color mixes before you start to paint. So you would prepare your color palette in advance, and once you have to work fast, for example with wet on wet technique, it doesn't bother you that you have to wait some time to mix some colors. You just have them already on the palette. So I'm gonna show you the main mixes that I have here, because I was inspired by this nice reference, and I actually really like this palette of like pastel purple and pink with flowers. It looks artistic, and I like this how colors match each other. So for the sneakers I use Lavender by Van Gogh. You can also choose lavender by another brand, but just look which color you will get. Maybe you will have to add more pink color, like I have here Carmine, I have here lavender, yellow ochre. Here are some mixes, don't pay attention to that. I have here Jaune Brilliant number 2, and I have Payne's gray. So what I'm doing right now, I'm mixing lavender with some red color. So I have carmine. So I have to take just a little bit just to make this color of the sneakers not so bluish as I have, because you can see if I will just take the lavender color, it looks like it's just lavender, but if you will put this color on the palette, you will see that it's actually very blue from what we need. So I just need to add a little bit more pink. So I think that here I have the exact mix that I'm gonna use. Yes, it's perfect. So I have it for the light parts of the sneakers, and for the darker parts you can just use some more dense mix of the same colors, like just use less water and more color, so the color will appear less transparent. So as for the sole of the sneakers, I used actually this Jaune Brilliant color. You can see it's like really pastel, and I mix it with carmine that I already have here. So I just end up with a nice pinkish color, but still pastel. I hope that you can see my piece of paper, because it looks like it's gonna rain, and hopefully that sunlight is not messing with the image and colors on the image of the video. So for the sole I use this pinkish color, and for the shadow parts, like the parts that are further from us, I just use more pink So I use more carmine. I add to this mixture and I have this darker color. So you can see that here in front I have this light color, light pinkish color, and darker I have this more dense color with carmine. So we're moving forward here on the socks. As you can guess, I just used Payne's gray. Actually, you can take another color, like just neutral tint or just black color. I'm sure that you have it in your palette. I actually have it here, so you can just use any shade of the black color and use a very watery mix, because we still want these socks appear as a white ones with black stripes. So it's better to use like 80% of water and just a little bit of color to create this light gray color. And we will use a lot of water, and we will work with wet on wet technique. So as for the blossoms, I actually used this lavender color with carmine, just more intense color. It should be like coffee density. And here we have this purple color. We will also work in wet on wet technique, so you can use just right directly to the painting some carmine, and for the darker shades you can just add some Payne's gray color. And when mixing colors, try to use different amount of each color to create different mixes, like more pinkish, more purple, so the painting will look more alive and with different colors instead of just one. And as for the legs, I use my ordinary combination of the skin color, which is lavender. I actually have it here, this mix, so I'm just gonna show you that it's lavender, it's gold ochre, and it's carmine. So once you mix these colors, you can see that the color is not exactly what you wanted, it's too gray. So you just add a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of carmine, and you just mix colors with different amount until you get the exact color that you want to get for the object that you are going to paint. So I like this skin color tone. So you just need to prepare different amounts of the colors of the mixes before you start to paint. And once you're done, let's start. So as always, I start with my kneadable eraser and remove some pencil lines. So I start painting with the color of Snickers. I made a mix of lavender and carmine and add a lot of water. I actually cover the whole surface of these sneakers with this light purple color, avoiding only white stripes on the side of the sneakers. And on the next steps, this is first layer, so normally first layer is very light, and on the next layers I will just make some more intense color in the shadows. So I leave the left sneaker dry, and I move to the next sneaker and basically work the same as with the first one. I cover with a light purple color all the surface. And now I can move to the first sneaker and just to overline some darker shades. I'm using the same color mix, but just more intense, less water, more color. I understand that it can be hard to see what I'm doing because I wanted to put in the shot my palette so you could see the color on the palette and also the painting, but actually you can zoom in a little bit to see more properly how I'm painting this sneaker. Now I'm switching to the smaller brush and I'm trying to work all these small details, small shadows to show that it's a sneaker. So right now I will leave painting sneakers for a while and I will move to the sole of the sneakers. For that purpose I'm gonna use Jaune number 2 by Mijello, and I will add a bit of Carmine. You can also add some pinkish red color if you have something like Mother Lake or ruby red, something like that. You can also use this color. So I also remember that in front of the sneaker is the lightest part of the sole. So I add a lot of water to make this color very transparent. And for the darker shades, I'm just using a little bit more dense mixture.
Mile in fog patches and showers early Friday, but improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper that you. Sycamore tree, dream a little dreamer.
And I'm switching to add some more details to the sneakers, to the laces, to underline the darker parts, the shade parts. Well, basically I'm trying to switch between the light part to the dark part, so it would look more realistic. You have to analyze picture before you are trying to paint some object. So just take a look and decide which parts are the most dark one. I'm sorry guys that my head is a lot in the shot, and I hope that you can actually see something behind my head, because when I work with the details, I like to get closer to the painting and to work precisely on the lines and to make sure it's really like light, small thing. And you also have to find your best way to work on the details, so your hand would feel steady and you would make sure that lines are nice and smooth. And now I think it's the best time to add some more details, which is the brand of the sneakers. And I use Payne's Gray for darker shades. You can also use Payne's Gray mixture with the lavender one for making these nice thin lines. And to paint this brand, I use just a mixture of Payne's Gray and some water. And I can see that I can also add some more darker shades under the white stripes, so it would look more bright, and I'm doing it. And now it's time to move to the second sole of the sneaker, which is a little bit further, and it's behind the left one. So the color behind the first sneaker will be darker. So once our sneakers are done, we're moving to the socks. And I can see that the shade on the socks are from the left side. So I start painting with the light mixture of Payne's gray and water. And I'm just covering the whole left side of the sock. And I still remember that it should feel white, so I use just water and pull some of the color on the surface of the paper to the right side. So I actually left painting for a few minutes to let the surface of the socks get dry and maybe to leave it a little bit wet. And now we are moving to some small details, small like gray lines, but it's really important to repeat the form of the sock, the form of the leg, so it would bring us the idea that it's actually a sock. For these small thin lines, I'm using my brush Da Vinci Casaneo number 2. You can use any brush, smaller size. The one that fits you well is perfect. And I also don't want these lines to be this sharp with the sharp endings. So I also add some water, just water on the clean brush, and I just make it more smooth. So now it's time to move to the stripes, to the black stripes, and I'm using just Payne's gray, and we remember that shadow on the socks remains from the left side, so I may add a little bit water from the right side. I also underline some shadows on the socks where it's needed to be, and I add some more shadows to the left side if needed, if I feel like I want to. And I also add some Adidas brand image on the side of the socks, as we can see it on the reference. And now we are going to paint lilac, and for that purpose I mix lavender and carmine, using a little bit more carmine than in the mix for the sneakers, so it would look more reddish. And also I actually used here purple color. If you have it in your palette, use it for the darker shades. If you don't have it, you can actually add some Payne's gray to make darker shades. Basically, you can add just lavender and carmine, and that's it. So I don't want to actually paint these lilac blossoms in details, so I'm gonna use wet on wet technique, and I cover some of the surface of the blossoms with water, and after that I take some color and I just add it to the wet surface. So the color will nicely blend with each other, and on the edges of these like wet spots I just add some blossoms of the lilac. It's also very abstract, so it would just give an idea that it's actually the flowers. If you didn't paint like this before, I would suggest you to try this technique before actually painting on the main masterpiece you're creating, and to try it on the just piece of paper just to see how it works.
When you press me to your
And as always, I'm trying to use the different shades of the colors. Try not to use the same mixture. Try to add sometimes more carmine, sometimes more lavender. Here I just add pure carmine to the wet spot that I have on the paper. Don't worry, because the colors will nicely blend. This is the magic of the wet on wet technique. And once you realize that it's really working and you can not waste a lot of time on painting the details, you can just create nice big blossoms on your paintings with this technique. And of course, you have not only to switch colors, but also to switch intensity, to make sure that light spots lie next to the darker shades. And this is how you will bring the volume to the painting you are making. So I actually add some more shades to the painting, so the flowers would look more realistic. And the most important thing to remember when you are painting with wet on wet technique, it doesn't look very nice from the first step. When you're making first layer, it might look just messy, but after making some details, adding some details, shadows, etc., it will look very nice. So right now I'm adding some green leaves. You can use any green that you have. It doesn't really matter. I think that I had on my palette some of the sub green, and I add some purple color to the sub green to make it darker. But you can make even green color by yourself by mixing the blue one and the yellow one. And now I'm gonna switch to painting legs. So I use mixture of the Carmine of the Rembrandt number 2 and yellow ochre or raw sienna, whatever you have. And I also add some purple color to make darker shades. So the same with the legs. Remember that here at our reference we have shadows on the left side. So we will do the same with the legs. We have to cover it like with light color and then add some more shades to the left side. Okay, I have actually some water splashed on the painting and now I have pretty big leg. It doesn't look very realistic in comparison with socks and size of the feet itself, but I hope that you won't make this mistake, that you will work on the sketch properly and you will just precisely work on the legs, not like I did. So when painting legs, I also use wet on wet technique, and it actually takes time to understand how it works, because in the beginning you might experience that your color is just blend with each other randomly and you don't have this effect. But it's also nice to have this opportunity to make light spots, like highlights that I did on the knee. You can just use a clean dry brush, so you can dry it on the paper towel and you can remove some of the painting from the surface. And once I painted the legs, I want to add some more details, some darker shades to the black stripes on the socks, the stripe under the blossom of lilac, and I'm just using Payne's Gray to do that. And now I want to add some more details to the blossoms. So I'm mixing Carmine and Payne's Gray and some mixture that I have already on my palette to make just darker shade. And in the end of the work, you can also use liner, black liner, to make some more graphical details, to outline some of the laces or stripes or painting of the brand. So anything you want, just to make it more nice. Okay guys, I think that our work is done. I hope that you like the result that you get, that you painted. Please tag me in your artworks by this tutorial and follow me on Instagram.